Welcome to your custom deep dive. Today, we are taking this massive stack of specs, leaks, forum debates, and hands-on reviews you sent us, and we're zeroing in on one central question.
Yeah, and it's a big one.
Right. Like, what actually happens when you engineer a vehicle to out-accelerate a Porsche, outrange a standard EV, and out-tech a private jet all for the price of, a standard mid-tier family SUV?
It's wild. We're looking at a machine that is fundamentally trying to shatter our expectations of what a single vehicle can do. I mean, it is a perfect case study for this specific moment in automotive history.
Exactly. The industry's in this transitional friction zone right now.
Yep. And the vehicle we're examining today seems custom built to exploit that friction.
So the vehicle in question is the Zeekr 8X. Now, depending on where you live, especially if you're in the US, the name Zeekr might be entirely new to you.
Highly likely, yeah.
But they are a premium brand operating under the massive Geely umbrella. And that's the same Chinese automotive giant that currently owns Volvo, Polestar, and Lotus.
Which is a serious pedigree.
It really is. So our mission for this deep dive is to figure out what this massive premium plug-in hybrid SUV actually is, unpack the mind-bending mechanics underneath its skin, and really determine why its spec sheet is making legacy luxury brands like BMW and Mercedes-Benz incredibly nervous.
Because they absolutely should be nervous.
Oh, for sure. And most importantly, we want to look at whether a vehicle like this actually stands a chance in established markets like the United States.
Right. And to understand why the 8X is causing such a stir, we have to look at the plot twist in Zeekr's own corporate strategy.
The hybrid pivot.
Exactly. Up until this point, Zeekr has built its entire reputation, particularly in European markets, on being a pure electric vehicle brand. I mean, they were the vanguard of the EV transition.
Right, but the 8X is a plug-in hybrid. It has a literal combustion engine under the hood.
Which feels like a massive step backward, right? For a company trying to look like the future, why pivot to gas when the whole world was supposedly moving to electric?
I mean, I have to assume it's because the real-world market data is telling a completely different story right now.
You hit the nail on the head. We are currently experiencing this global wave of EV hesitancy. Buyers, they absolutely love the smooth, silent, instant torque of an electric vehicle for their daily commute.
Sure, around town it's great.
Right, but they are terrified of range anxiety when it comes to long road trips, especially in regions where the charging infrastructure is, broken or sparse.
Which is a lot of places.
Exactly. So Zeekr recognized this ceiling on EV adoption and engineered what they're calling a super hybrid. The goal is to cure range anxiety entirely while sacrificing absolutely zero EV performance.
And when we talk about performance, the numbers in these source documents are just staggering.
They're absurd.
We are looking at a 2.0-liter turbocharged four-cylinder engine, which, by the way, leans heavily on Volvo's decades of combustion engineering, and that is paired with up to 3 independent electric motors.
Yeah, 3 of them.
In their flagship performance trim, the combined output is 1,030 kilowatts. That translates to roughly 1,381 horsepower.
It's hard to even process that number.
In a 3-row family SUV that weighs nearly 3 tons.
It fundamentally breaks the traditional math of family transport. But what is crucial here is understanding how that power is actually delivered.
Right, because this isn't your standard hybrid.
Exactly. It's not the kind where a weak little electric motor just gives the gas engine a boost off the line. At lower speeds, the 8X operates primarily as a series hybrid.
So the engine isn't driving the wheels.
Nope. The 2.0-liter engine isn't even connected to the wheels at low speeds. It acts entirely as an onboard power plant, just spinning a generator to feed electricity directly to those 3 massive electric motors.
So it drives exactly like a pure EV around town.
Precisely. It's only at highway speeds where electric motors naturally begin to lose their efficiency that a physical clutch actually engages.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and at that point, the gas engine connects directly to the drivetrain to turn the wheels alongside the electric motors, which maximizes fuel economy and top-end power.
I love that. It's essentially a reverse mullet of a powertrain.
A reverse mullet?
Yeah, like you have pure, quiet, highly sophisticated electric business in the front for your daily city commute, right? But then you have this unlimited 1,300 horsepower gas-fueled party in the back the second you hit the open highway for a weekend road trip.
That's a brilliant way to put it.
And it supposedly does 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in under 3 seconds.
Which is terrifying in a vehicle this size. But the architecture making that party possible without, melting the car's internals, that's where the real engineering flex happens.
Right, the platform.
Yeah, the 8X is built on a specific variant of their sustainable experience architecture, the CS platform. And the crown jewel of that platform is its 900-volt high-voltage electrical system.
Okay, so I see 800-volt and 900-volt thrown around in marketing materials all the time. But behind the wheel, what does doubling the voltage actually do for you?
It all comes down to thermal management. Heat is the biggest enemy of any electric powertrain.
Makes sense.
Power is just voltage multiplied by current. So if you want to push 1,381 horsepower to the wheels, you have two choices. You either push a massive amount of current or you push a massive amount of voltage.
Okay.
Think of it like a water system. High current is like trying to force an ocean of water through a very narrow standard pipe.
The friction would be insane.
Right. And in electrical terms, that friction manifests as extreme heat.
So by doubling the voltage to 900 volts, you are essentially widening the pipe.
Exactly. You can push the exact same massive amount of power using significantly less current. And less current means drastically less heat loss in the copper wiring and the power inverters.
Wow.
In real-world terms, if you take a standard performance EV and do 3 or 4 hard accelerations, the battery gets too hot. The car's computer steps in and cuts your power to protect the system.
Right, that's called thermal derating, isn't it?
Yep. But because the 8X's 900-volt system manages heat so efficiently, it doesn't derate. The spec sheets show a mere 0.2-second difference in acceleration between having a 100% full battery and a 20% charge.
That's incredibly impressive engineering. But I have to challenge the premise here a bit.
Go for it.
Do you really need the power of 2 Porsche Cayenne Turbo GTs in a vehicle designed to take the kids to soccer practice or pick up groceries? I mean, it seems like an arms race with no practical application.
Oh, you absolutely do not need it. But looking at it purely as a consumer need completely misses the broader geopolitical and market strategy at play here.
How so?
Zeekr isn't doing this because families require G-forces on the school run. They are doing it to deliberately commoditize extreme performance. Historically, if you wanted over 1,000 horsepower, you were buying a multi-million-dollar hypercar from a legacy brand. Zeekr, backed by Geely's massive vertical integration, can offer that power for the price of a standard BMW X5.
Because they own the whole supply chain.
Exactly. They own their battery joint ventures, they share platforms across multiple brands, they control the materials. If anyone can buy 1,300 horsepower for mid-tier money, performance is no longer the ultimate luxury status symbol.
Wow. They're stripping legacy brands of their main differentiator.
Completely.
Which forces us to look at how they are fueling that performance. Because to feed 3 electric motors that aggressively, you need an ocean of energy.
You really do.
And the sources highlight that the 8X comes with a massive 70 kilowatt-hour battery option.
That is huge for a hybrid.
It is. Just to put that into perspective for you, the early pure electric cars, like the first-generation Nissan Leaf, had batteries half that size as their entire power source. And Zeekr is just casually dropping a 70 kilowatt-hour pack into a plug-in hybrid alongside a combustion engine.
And that massive battery is applied through a joint venture with CATL, which is the largest battery manufacturer in the world. It allows Zeekr to claim up to 328 kilometers of electric-only range.
That's incredible.
For the vast majority of suburban drivers, that means the gas engine will literally never turn on during a normal week of commuting to work and running errands.
But we need to put a massive asterisk next to that 328-kilometer number. Because range numbers are essentially a mirage depending on the regulatory body doing the testing.
Yeah, that is a crucial reality check for you, especially if you're evaluating this from a North American perspective. We have to clearly state that the 328-kilometer figure is based on the CLTC, the Chinese light-duty vehicle test cycle, and to some extent, the WLTP standards used in Europe.
And those are pretty lenient, right?
Very. The CLTC involves much lower average speeds and a lot of stop-and-go testing, which really flatters EVs through regenerative braking. It does not translate one-to-one with the American EPA estimates, which feature much harsher highway speed testing.
So if the 8X lands in the US, expect that official electric range to be notably lower.
Definitely. However, even with an EPA adjustment, it will still vastly outperform traditional plug-in hybrids like the BMW X5 xDrive 50e, which usually top out around, 40 miles of electric range?
Yeah, right around there. But even adjusted, 70 kilowatt hours is a huge battery to fill.
Which brings us to their charging claims. The 8X boasts 6C fast charging capability.
Yeah, the marketing claims you can take this battery from 20% to 80% in under 9 minutes.
9 minutes.
It is an incredibly aggressive charging standard. The C rate is a metric used to measure the rate at which a battery is charged or discharged relative to its maximum capacity.
Okay, break that down for me.
So a 1C rate means you are charging the entire battery from empty to full in exactly 1 hour. Therefore, a 6C rate theoretically means charging it in 1/6 of an hour, which is 10 minutes.
Imagine trying to fill a residential swimming pool with a municipal fire hose in under 10 minutes.
That's a great visual.
The sheer physical pressure and heat generated inside those battery cells when you force that much energy in is immense, which again is why that 900-volt architecture is mandatory, right?
Yeah.
Just to keep the pack from literally melting down on the charger. Exactly. But, and this is a big but, while the car's architecture and the CATL battery can theoretically accept that violent flow of energy, there is a massive real-world infrastructure bottleneck.
Oh, the chargers themselves.
Yeah. To achieve a 9-minute charge, you require an ultra-rare 500 kilowatt DC fast charger. If you drive an 8X off the lot today, finding a public charger capable of delivering a sustained 500 kilowatts is going to be incredibly difficult outside of very specific, highly developed tech hubs in China.
Right, because most fast chargers in the US max out at 150 or 350 kilowatts.
Exactly. So for early adopters, that 9-minute charge is essentially a theoretical party trick waiting for the global power grid to catch up.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
But managing hypercar physics and massive electrical currents is really only half the battle. Keeping passengers comfortable while pulling those massive G-forces requires a completely different kind of engineering.
It really does.
Zeekr had to rethink the cabin layout to balance that raw power with luxury lounge expectations. They literally call the interior of the 8X the digital lounge.
And looking at the hands-on reviews and cabin breakdowns, it aggressively targets the ultra-luxury segment. The interior is not trying to be a rugged off-roader at all. It is entirely focused on a high-tech, executive-level experience.
The feature list reads like the manifest for a private jet. Up front, you have dual 15.6-inch screens, including a dedicated entertainment display just for the passengers so they can stream movies without distracting the driver.
Nice.
The real passengers get their own 17-inch OLED screen that folds down from the ceiling. But the audio system is what really caught my attention. It's a 29-speaker setup from Naim.
Wow, Naim is the British audio brand famous for tuning the sound systems in Bentleys, right?
Exactly. And in the 8X, it pushes out over 3,800 watts, and it's a 4D system, meaning if you're watching an action movie in the back seat and a helicopter crashes on screen, actuators in the seats literally vibrate to match the frequency of the explosion.
It's an overwhelming sensory experience, and we haven't even touched on the center console fridge, which goes far beyond just keeping a few sodas cold.
Oh man, the fridge. It's a 9.5-liter compartment, accessible from the rear, that can heat up to 50 degrees Celsius to keep takeout food warm, or cool down to -6 degrees to make actual ice.
Just wild.
But the detail that blew my mind is the industry-first sterilization function. You could theoretically sterilize baby bottles in your SUV's armrest while doing 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds. It sounds completely gimmicky at first glance.
It does sound gimmicky, I'll give you that. But if we look closer at the cabin design, what's actually fascinating is that the 8X represents a surprising return to pragmatic, sensible design for Zeekr.
How so?
Well, in a lot of recent electric vehicles, manufacturers have fallen into the trap of burying every single function inside a touchscreen menu.
Well, I hate that.
Right. It frustrates drivers who just want to turn on the windshield wipers or adjust the AC. But Zeekr made deliberate choices here. They retained physical, tactile buttons on the dashboard and doors for essential functions like the climate control, seat heating, and massage features.
I noticed they also went back to traditional flush door handles on the outside.
Yes.
On their larger 9X model, they used those complicated pop-out electronic handles that look sleek, but have a notorious reputation across the EV industry for freezing shut in the winter, or just, failing electronically.
Yeah, reverting to a physical handle you can actually grab shows they're prioritizing daily real-world usability over pure aesthetic futurism.
And that tactile, practical approach ties perfectly into a new development philosophy Zeekr has adopted for the 8X launch, which they internally call slow is fast.
Right, because there has been a growing stereotype, and frankly, sometimes a valid criticism, that some Chinese EV brands rush their cars to market at breakneck speed.
Which results in buggy software, inconsistent build quality, and just a lack of long-term polish.
Exactly. Zeekr's actively trying to shake that reputation. To prove the 8X's durability, they put prototypes through a brutal 30,000-kilometer extreme weather road test across China, driving them from the freezing, high-altitude mountains of Tibet to the scorching sands of the Turpan Depression before finalizing production.
Which is absolutely mandatory if you're trying to manage nearly 3 tons of mass traveling at high speeds. I mean, how does a vehicle this heavy and this powerful actually stay on the road, especially in those extreme weather conditions?
That brings us to the brains of the vehicle's handling. It's called the Haohan AI Digital Chassis.
Okay.
And this isn't just an adaptive suspension that reacts to a bump after you hit it. It is a highly predictive system. It uses an array of cameras and sensors to read the topography of the road surface ahead in real time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it then takes that data and adjusts the dual-chamber air suspension and continuous damping control instantly to brace for the impact before the tire even makes contact.
The technical specs claim the chassis can automatically recognize 7 different types of terrain, including snow, deep mud, and loose sand, and adjust the torque distribution and drive modes without the driver ever needing to touch a dial.
It's incredibly smart.
But the most incredible claim in the source material regarding this AI chassis is about high-speed safety. They state that the system is so advanced that if you suffer a catastrophic tire blowout while driving 120 kilometers per hour on the highway, the chassis can instantly sense the loss of pressure.
And because it has independent electric motors, it can instantly apply hypergranular torque vectoring.
Meaning it sends specific amounts of power or braking force to the 3 remaining good wheels.
Exactly. It does that to keep the massive vehicle perfectly stable in its lane and safely bring it to a controlled stop, completely counteracting the physical pull of the blown tire.
That is insane. That level of instantaneous control is physically impossible in a traditional mechanical drivetrain.
It really is. And the intelligence extends to the autonomous features as well. The 8X is equipped with a roof-mounted LiDAR unit, which powers their GASD Level 3 autonomous driving system.
Which gives the car a highly detailed 3D laser-mapped view of its environment, up to 500 meters ahead. That enables advanced features like automatic lane changes in dense highway traffic and highly complex self-parking scenarios without driver intervention.
With that combination of bleeding-edge tech, hypercar power, and luxury focus, it's not surprising that the global enthusiast community is heavily debating this vehicle.
Oh, big time.
Looking through the international automotive forums we pulled for this deep dive, the reactions are highly segmented by region.
Yeah, I was reading through several UAE-based threads, and the drivers in Dubai are hyper-focused on the battery and the HVAC system.
Really?
Yeah, because their biggest issue with EVs is that running the air conditioning at full blast in 100 to 15-degree desert heat absolutely decimates battery range.
That makes total sense.
Right, so they are incredibly excited about having a 70 kilowatt-hour battery just to run the robust AC and keep the cabin cool, knowing the gas engine is there as a fail-safe.
Yes.
But the North American forum discussions are a completely different animal.
What specific comparisons are the North American drivers drawing?
It's all about matching the 8X against the current heavyweights in the premium 3-row space. American drivers are already putting the Zeekr head-to-head with cars like the Rivian R1S and the Kia EV9, but they're kind of getting hung up on the specs.
Well, it's easy for an American forum user to compare the 8X to a Rivian R1S just because they both have 3 rows and a lot of horsepower, but mechanically they are solving completely different engineering problems.
How do you mean?
The Rivian is built on a quad-motor off-road truck platform. It's designed to crawl over boulders, which naturally compromises its on-road ride quality and cabin noise. The Zeekr is built on a high-speed touring platform. It is designed to glide silently at 90 miles an hour.
Exactly. The consensus in the forums reflects that difference. Owners note the Rivian can suffer from loud HVAC systems and spotty interior build quality, whereas the Zeekr is reported to have Bentley-level noise, vibration, and harshness standards. Plus, it charges much faster thanks to the 900-volt architecture.
Right, and what about when they compare it to the Kia EV9?
Well, the EV9 is widely praised as a highly practical, fantastic, sensible family car. But the Zeekr 8X is operating on a completely different plane of horsepower and premium material luxury. The Kia is a great appliance. The Zeekr is trying to be a bespoke suit.
Which forces us to confront the most critical factor in this entire equation, the value proposition. All of this technology, all of this power, all of this luxury only matters if the price actually disrupts the market.
And the pricing is where legacy automakers start sweating. The estimates leading from the initial Chinese market launch put the starting price of the Zeekr 8X around $61,500.
That's incredibly aggressive.
And even if you spec it all the way up to the fully loaded 1,300 horsepower tri-motor performance version, it peaks near $80,000.
Now compare that $80,000 price tag to its direct European rivals in the premium luxury SUV segment. A Porsche Cayenne Turbo GT or a Range Rover Sport SV will easily cost you north of $180,000.
Easily.
And a well-equipped BMW X5 or Mercedes-Benz GLE can quickly cross the six-figure mark without offering anywhere near this level of power or standard technology.
So you are paying literally a fraction of the cost of the German or British luxury SUVs, but you are getting double the horsepower, a massive electric range, and a cabin that sterilizes your groceries and shakes your seat to the movie you're watching.
It's a lot of car for the money.
On paper, it is an absolute knockout punch.
Yeah.
But I have to ask you, the listener, the ultimate question. Will American buyers actually cross-shop a BMW with a Chinese premium SUV?
This is the massive geopolitical and economic hurdle Geely and Zeekr have to clear. They have publicly stated their global ambitions, and the raw engineering specs are undeniably impressive.
Right.
But premium buyers in markets like the United States care about significantly more than just a spec sheet or a low price. Breaking into that entrenched market requires overcoming immense barriers.
Like brand trust.
Exactly. It requires establishing deep, multi-generational brand trust. It requires proving long-term software reliability over years, not just during a 30,000-kilometer test. And practically speaking, it requires building a robust nationwide dealer and service support network entirely from scratch.
Because if something breaks, you need somewhere to take it.
Right. You can manufacture the most advanced, powerful car in the world, but if a premium buyer is worried they won't be able to get a replacement bumper or a software update if someone rear-ends them in Ohio, they will walk across the street and buy the Mercedes instead.
The logistics of trust are vastly more complicated than the physics of horsepower. Let's summarize the core takeaways from the massive stack of research we've unpacked today.
Yeah, it's good.
The Zeekr 8X is an incredibly ambitious megawatt-class luxury hybrid. It takes the absurd 1,300 horsepower performance usually reserved for multi-million-dollar track cars and blends it with highly thoughtful, family-friendly practicality.
Yeah, they are offering tactile buttons, massive electric range, and highly advanced safety-focused AI, all wrapped in a package designed to undercut the old guard of luxury automakers.
It is a vehicle that seemingly refuses to compromise, acting as a highly engineered bridge between the combustion past and the fully electric future.
But looking at the broader automotive landscape, it leaves us with a highly provocative thought for you to mull over.
What's that?
If a relatively new brand like Zeekr can successfully commoditize 1,300 horsepower, advanced LiDAR autonomy, and ultra-luxury technology for the price of a standard mid-tier SUV, what exactly will legacy luxury brands sell us in the future?
Ooh, that's a great point.
In objective performance, like who goes 0 to 60 the fastest or who has the most screens is no longer a differentiator because anyone can buy a rocket ship for 80 grand. Is heritage and brand soul going to be enough to keep the old guard alive?
That is a question that is undoubtedly keeping automotive executives awake at night. Thank you so much for joining us on this custom deep dive into the Zeekr 8X. We'd love to hear your take. If the service networks were equal, would you put a Chinese premium SUV in your driveway over a German classic? Drop your thoughts in the comments or find us on social media. Until next time, keep questioning the specs.